children's rights to speak for a few minutes about the work at Children's Rights and some of the faith LGBTQ work they've done. We'll put some links in the chat as you speak, Danielle, but please feel free to introduce yourself and take it away.
Thanks so much, Elliot. It's just great to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on your time zone. Thank you all so much for attending Visible and Unstoppable. I am Danielle Girard, and I'm a senior staff attorney at Children's Rights. And this has just been a great event where we can get together and celebrate hope and support and resistance for the LGBTQ plus community, especially at such a dire time. Many thanks, many thanks to Elliot and to Lambda Legal and the Center for the Study of Social Policy and all the other sponsors of this terrific and very critical event. Children's Rights was in partnership with Unicorn Solutions and Lambda and the Center for the Study of Social Policy on Safe Havens 2.0, which was a really tremendous in-depth experience. I'm presenting today on the Children's Rights compilation of LGBTQ plus resources for faith leaders that we put together with the members of our Interfaith Coalition. I think Elliot will be putting that in the chat. I could also share my screen in a little bit and walk you all through it. But first, I'd like to give a little explanation. Children's Rights is a national advocacy organization dedicated to improving the lives of children in America's child welfare, juvenile legal, immigration, education, and healthcare systems. We use civil rights impact litigation, that is class actions, advocacy and policy expertise, and public education to hold governments accountable for keeping kids safe and healthy. Our work centers on creating lasting systemic change that will advance the rights of children for generations. We focus on LGBTQ plus issues because a third of our clients identify as LGBTQ. Second, Children's Rights established the Interfaith Coalition in 2019. It's made up of faith organizations across the country, like the Union Theological Seminary in New York, Texas Impact, and several houses of worship and others, to focus on protecting the rights of children in foster systems by fighting federal, state, and local government efforts to permit discrimination by child welfare providers against same-sex couples. These couples were inquiring about becoming foster and adoptive parents and were getting turned away, and various states asked for waivers from anti-discrimination laws in order to develop a license to discriminate against same-sex couples. This is really important because same-sex couples foster and adopt at much greater rates than different sex couples. So it just seemed like states and entities were buying into the notion that discrimination in foster and adoptive family recruitment and licensing was somehow perfectly acceptable. We did not think so. We filed amicus briefs in an appeals court and at the Supreme Court in a case called Fulton. We advocated on the ground in various state legislatures and have written op-eds on how child welfare agencies can change their contracts to avoid being caught in a trap that grants child welfare providers a license to discriminate. So here we are a few years later. For a while, this sort of thing died down, and then, of course, it's come roaring back. But one of the things that Children's Rights thought would be helpful, particularly at this time, would be to compile a list of resources to help faith leaders and others in supporting LGBTQ youth and their families. Elliot, I think, has linked to the flyer that we developed. These resources could be especially important when faith leaders' congregants come to them for support with a family member who has come out, or to advise congregants unsure about next steps. Our one-pager includes materials from the Family Acceptance Project, including a guide published by the Group for the Advancement of Psychiatry, lists of affirming congregations across the U.S., and a searchable map, posters in multiple languages, and videos. We include links to PFLAG resources for Christians, Jews, Muslims, and non-denominational communities around the country. We aimed to make this compilation as user-friendly as possible so that it can be printed and distributed by hand, in addition to being an online resource. So it has QR codes for all the compiled resources. One of the best things about these resources for faith leaders were the conversations our Interfaith Coalition had in developing the one-pager. One of our members explained that a colleague of his, who had been an imam in a local mosque, lost his position when he tried to help some of his LGBTQ youth congregants. Our Interfaith Coalition member thought that if the imam had had access to these resources, he would still have his job today. In any event, thank you all for attending. You can find us at childrensrights.org. And Elliot told us that we've been asked to say what brings us joy outside of work. And I would say for me, I've been running every other day for 25 years. It's a huge passion and really keeps me focused and on the ball. So that's my joy outside of work. And I just want to say to everybody else, enjoy the rest of today's messages of hope and support.
Yeah, thanks so much, Danielle. I really appreciate it and appreciate getting to work with you on the Safe Havens report. We've put that link in the chat as well as the documents that Danielle mentioned from Children's Rights on Interfaith Coalition and faith leaders supporting LGBTQ youth. So feel free to check those out. And Danielle, feel free to stick around and catch us while you can. But of course, get back to your day as you need to. Appreciate you joining us today.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much.
so much, Elliot. Thanks for including me.
Of course.